The first time I asked the question, I thought I was being funny. By sunset, I realized I had uncovered a truth that would change not only her life, but mine forever. Some conversations begin with laughter and end with tears, while others begin with pride and end with humility. This was one of those stories that stayed with me long after the words were spoken. Before we begin, if you believe kindness can heal old wounds, hope can arrive when we least expect it, and everyone deserves forgiveness and a second chance. Please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs encouragement. Leave a comment about what kindness means to you, and subscribe to the channel for more heartfelt stories that remind us of the goodness still living in ordinary people. My name is Nathan, and I lived in a quiet neighborhood outside Asheville, North Carolina. Most Saturdays were spent mowing the lawn, fixing broken fences, or helping neighbors with small projects. Across the street lived a woman named Grace. She had moved in 3 years earlier with her aging father after leaving a successful career in Chicago. Everyone liked her because she smiled easily, volunteered at the local food pantry, and never complained, even when life seemed unusually heavy on her shoulders. Yet every family barbecue, church picnic, or neighborhood gathering seemed to end with someone asking the same question about why she was still unmarried. One warm spring afternoon, we were rebuilding part of my backyard deck after a storm had damaged it. The work was slow, the sun was bright, and the mood felt light, trying to tease her. I laughed and casually asked, "Still no husband?" I expected an eye roll or a playful joke. Instead, Grace paused, looked at me with calm eyes, and quietly replied, "I'm waiting for the right question." She returned to measuring a wooden board as though nothing unusual had happened. But those words echoed in my mind. The right question. I kept wondering what she meant. For days, I replayed the moment while driving to work, drinking coffee, and lying awake at night. It wasn't the answer of someone who was bitter or lonely. It sounded like someone waiting to be truly seen. A week later, I visited Grace's father, Walter, to return a borrowed ladder. While we talked on the porch, he proudly shared stories about his daughter. After losing her mother years earlier, Grace had postponed promotions, turned down relationships that required moving away, and eventually left her career altogether to care for him after he developed serious mobility problems. She quietly managed medical appointments, household repairs, bills, and volunteer work without asking anyone for sympathy. Walter admitted that many good men had admired her, but most were interested only in whether she fit into their plans. Very few ever asked about hers. His words hit me harder than I expected. I realized I had done exactly what everyone else had done. Instead of asking what brought her joy, what she had sacrificed, or what dreams she still carried inside, I had reduced her life to one missing ring. Over the following weeks, I stopped trying to impress her with jokes and started asking different questions. I asked about the books she loved, the children she mentored at church, the tiny vegetable garden behind her house, and the paintings she secretly created in the evenings. She slowly opened a part of herself that few people had ever noticed. She dreamed of opening a community workshop where widows, retirees, and young adults could learn practical skills together while building friendships. It wasn't about business, it was about belonging. The more I listened, the more I admired her quiet courage. She never described herself as someone who had given things up. She simply believed that love sometimes looked like staying when leaving would have been easier. Watching her care for Walter with patience and dignity taught me more about commitment than any romantic movie ever could. When several neighbors learned about her dream, something remarkable happened. A retired carpenter named Samuel donated old tools. Rebecca, a local teacher, organized volunteers. My construction company contributed leftover lumber and supplies. Every weekend, people arrived with paintbrushes, hammers, flower pots, and homemade meals. Grace stood in the middle of the old abandoned workshop with tears in her eyes, overwhelmed that people had listened instead of assuming. Months later, the building opened as the Open Hands Workshop. Teenagers learned woodworking beside veterans. Young parents repaired bicycles with retirees. Lonely people found friends. Walter watched proudly from his wheelchair as laughter filled a place that had once been silent. Grace often said the building wasn't made from wood and nails, but from people who finally started asking better questions. One quiet evening after everyone had gone home, I walked beside Grace through the workshop garden. I apologized for the careless joke I had made months earlier. She smiled warmly and admitted that my question had hurt for only a moment, but my willingness to ask better ones afterward had restored something much deeper. She explained that the right question was never, "Why aren't you married?" It was, "What matters most to your heart?" When someone asks that sincerely, they begin seeing the whole person instead of the label society gives them. Before we reach the end of this story, I'd love to hear from you. Please leave a comment below and tell us, what is one question that changed your life or helped you truly understand someone? Your story may encourage another viewer today. A year later, Walter passed away peacefully, knowing his daughter was surrounded by people who loved her. Grace continued leading the workshop, and together we spent countless weekends serving our community. Eventually, without any grand speeches or dramatic moments, I asked her another question, not whether she wanted a husband, but whether she wanted to keep building a life beside me. This time, her smile answered before her words did. If this story touched your heart, reminded you to look beyond appearances, or encouraged you to ask people deeper questions, please like this video, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe for more uplifting stories. Sometimes the most important change in our lives begins not with finding the right answer, but with having the courage to ask the right question.